patients! Stop arresting patients! Stop arresting patients!
Welcome to CMMNJ TV.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
I'm Ken Walski, Executive Director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey. The mission of our organization is to educate the public about the benefits of marijuana. Marijuana is a safe, effective, and inexpensive therapeutic agent for a wide variety of diseases, symptoms, and conditions. No patient should suffer needlessly without it, and no patient should ever go to jail for following the advice of a doctor. Join us and learn more about the exciting science of medical marijuana. Welcome to CMMNJ TV. I'm Ken Walski, Executive Director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey. We're here today in the Princeton Community TV studios with Laura and Roger Barber, who have an interesting story to tell about their daughter Genny. So thank you so much for coming, Roger and Laura.
Our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
And please tell us about your daughter.
Well, Genny is our lovely 16-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She has irretractable epilepsy, and she's also diagnosed for her IEP purposes at school with autism spectrum disorder. We've been trying to stop Genny's seizures for 15 years. She's basically tried every seizure drug that's available on the market.
IEP, now, I just kind of figured that out. It might be interdisciplinary educational plan?
It's an individualized education plan.
Individualized
Yes.
educational plan.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and by state law, every child who's classified with a disability has to have that plan under the federal law, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, the IDEA.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So Genny is classified under federal law, and the state regulations implement that federal law to make sure that she gets all the protections and the IEP, and she gets transported to and from our local home district to her school, which is a private school. And we've really been unsuccessful for 15 years in stopping her seizures. Nothing has worked until we've tried medical marijuana, and it has greatly improved her in numerous ways. It's reduced the number of seizures that she has, and it has also reduced the intensity of the seizures. She went from having basically one tonic-clonic, which used to be called a grand mal seizure, which is now called a tonic-clonic seizure. She would have one probably every day. And we would typically use Distat, which is a rectal Valium, to inject into her rectum probably twice a week at least. And that was before the medical marijuana. She started that in September on medical marijuana. My wife was instrumental in getting Genny's license, probably a 2-year ordeal to get her approved and to get it going. My wife makes the oil. She's been designated by the state of New Jersey as a pharmacist. And in joking theory, she has to make the oil. But since Genny's been on it since September, her seizures have reduced by at least 40%, 50%. She's now having probably 2 seizures a week instead of every day. And she's also gone from having 15, 20-minute seizures to 1 or 2 minutes in duration. And it's all because of the MMJ.
Yeah. So her seizures started when she was an infant then?
3 months of age.
At 3 months of age.
They called them infantile spasms at that time. And then when she became a year old, they classify them as adult seizures.
Does it differ from Dravet syndrome? Do you know?
There was a different seizure type with infantile spasms. It was called hypsarrhythmia, but then it would turn
Hypsarrhythmia?
Yes, but then it would turn into a more adult type of seizure. She actually no, I don't think that the seizure pattern with Dravet correlates with my daughter.
Yeah.
She has what was called a cortical focal dysplasia, and they thought that was what's causing her seizures, but really they don't know what's causing her seizures, and they're designated as idiopathic.
Idiopathic, yeah. It just means an unknown cause.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so obviously now you've tried all different types of medication for Genny.
Probably 15 different kinds.
15 different types of
Depakote,
anticonvulsant medications.
Yes.
How about that one out of Canada?
We've even gotten drugs that have not yet been approved by the FDA through Children's Hospital out of Canada, which was actually the very first drug she was on at 3 months of age. They had a choice of putting her on Sabril or another drug which they had used for years, which was ACTH, which is absolutely devastating to children.
It's a steroid-based.
Can cause heart failure, can cause kidney and liver damage. So they tried Genny. She was one of the first patients
She was on
there.
ACTH?
She was not.
Oh.
She was
They
on
actually
the
put her
Sabril.
on the new drug Sabril, which is it was not FDA approved yet at that time. It was being used in France and Canada.
But it just like at 2 years ago became FDA
Right.
approved. So it's like 13 years in the making.
It took 13 years to get it approved. But they were able to get it through Montreal from a pharmacy into New York and provide it to us. And it was came in a powder form. And we actually had to split it up and weigh it on a scale they gave us to the 10th of a gram and give it to Genny. But it really helped in stopping her infantile spasms, and it didn't cause any side effects. So she didn't have any brain damage from it, she didn't have any organ damage from it, and it did the same thing that ACTH could have done. So
And
that
then
was
at
great.
2.5, since the seizure still continued, the doctor said maybe we should map her brain and see if we can find a focal point. So we went in for phase 1 and 2, where they actually burred holes into her head and put the EEG wires right on the brain, and monitored her for a week with seizures. And then at the end of that week, they went in and told us that it was in the right side frontal lobe and took out that portion. And on the MRI, after you see the films, it's devastating to see that your child has a golf ball gap
Missing brain.
of where the brain was.
And
So she had brain surgery at 2.5.
And then at 10 years old, she did the ketogenic diet, which is, how do you pronounce it, a homeopathic type of diet where you go into the hospital and you literally starve your child for a week to get them into ketosis. And your body will actually feed off of that, off of a high-fat diet. And it's all weighed and measured. Everyone in your family is affected. There's no more runs to McDonald's. This child has to eat everything that's weighed and measured.
And 95% fat. So her dinner would consist of a couple tablespoons of oil, a couple tablespoons of butter, some crushed macadamia nuts, and then maybe some high-fat ham chopped up as protein. And we had to start by literally forcing Genny to eat it. You know, like kind of like.
And there was a regime of vitamins that the nurses had to give them, but again, you can't give vitamins at school, so they kind of just turn their head on that and let her have the vitamins because it was part of that strict diet. You know.
But it was a real tough regimen, and we did religiously try it for a year, and it did not work. So. That was at 10 to 11. And then from 11 to 15, we were trying new drugs that just would come on the market. Fycompa, Omfi, which were just approved within, a year by the FDA. And again, they were, a couple of them were supposed to be totally new strains of anti-epileptic drugs, but once again, did not have any effect on Genny's seizures.
This is pictures of Genny. And this was a picture of her when
she was on the new medications. 2010, 2011, her school picture.
Oh, this is the new one.
Anorexic looking. She's drugged out. She had just come off that ketogenic diet. Looks like a zombie. Now, this is her school picture, which they took a month ago, which we are so proud of. Genny is so beautiful. Her eyes are clear. Her smile is bright. That's our Genny. And it's ever since she started medical marijuana.
About that amazing story.
The only thing, Ken, that has had any effect on her seizures.
It's, well, we believe that marijuana really is a remarkable drug, and it has tremendous therapeutic potential for so many people, and it's so heartwarming to come and hear the story of another success story.
We see it firsthand, and not just anecdotal. I mean, this is since September. This is September, October, November, December, 6 months. And
6 months now, she's been on medical marijuana. How hard was it to get the card?
wow.
Say
It was
like a 2-year process?
well, it wasn't that long. I would
Seemed
say
like
it seemed like it. It was. It did take a while.
She was on the phone for hours and
You had to get
days
3
and
doctors,
online.
obviously, right? You,
and-
you had to get a
And we had to
psychiatrist.
change her
That was the
primary
problem.
care.
I had to
We had to get a
change- yeah.
psychiatrist was a nightmare because she was a minor. And nobody wanted to give a recommendation that it would be okay for her.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Even to doctors that were recommended by like coalitions and foundations and moms and such a tough time. But Laura persevered and got it done. You know, Jenny's care has been the utmost. She's had Dr. Larry Brown, who's the head of pediatric epilepsy at CHOP, and he's been her doctor since 1 year of age. So we've had the best possible care for her, and it's just amazing to me that they've tried for 14 years to stop her seizures and have failed. And really, if you look at it, Dr. Laura has actually done what they couldn't do.
Yeah. Now, of course, so you did manage to find a psychiatrist who would sign off on this and complete the process for getting an ID card, both for your daughter and for yourself as a caregiver.
Yes.
But now, of course, you know, the marijuana that, what do you use one of the dispensaries? Do you use Compassionate Care Foundation
Yes.
in Egg Harbor?
And no, I use Woodbridge actually.
You use Woodbridge?
Woodbridge. I believe that every time I called, they always had the Harlequin, the high CBD that I always needed. I think the first time that I had called Egg Harbor, they said I would have to wait a week or two. So I think it's all in availability too with the dispensaries. But you know, you buy actual green, you know, buds, and you have to transform it with a 5-hour process.
That's the Harlequin. That's
this is the Harlequin.
And it's they call it the hippie reject because it's low in THC. It really doesn't get you high.
So there's no real
It's
euphoria. kind of
exactly. It's
associated
very
with it.
high in CBD, which is I believe one of the ingredients in marijuana that has the effect on Jenny's seizures.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the CBD's been identified as having anti-seizure properties.
And I see it, and I'm convinced.
Yeah, but it also works in conjunction with the THC. So when you try to, you know, just have the CBD alone, it's many people find that it's not as effective as when you have the entire entourage effect of the not only the some amount of THC.
We found that as well, and Jenny does get another brand, a Death Star, from the dispensary as well, which is very high in THC, and we use that on a very low dose, mixed in with the CBD oil.
And who initially recommended that you try medical marijuana for your daughter?
Well, we went for a second opinion at Jefferson University, and there was 4 options that the doctor had given us, and one was one was to pray or go to Lourdes or some kind of other religious place and hang your crutches up in the church and, you know.
Essentially do nothing.
Right.
And the other one was to try medical marijuana, but then at that time he had said, well, then you're going to have to split your family up or all move to Colorado.
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah. And then the third one was to use a very dangerous drug that we would have to
Brand new to the market.
that we would have to sign a waiver that if there was any damage done that they wouldn't be held responsible, the pharmacist or the hospital. And then the third one was to split her brain. It's called a hemispherotomy, I believe. It's a corpus callus.
Right.
Not
Which
really.
could leave her paralyzed on the left
one
side, and it just none of those were options.
Yeah. Right.
We were also told that option 1 is basically a negligent parent and waiting for your child to possibly die. So
I worked at Thomas Jefferson Hospital in their ICUs as an RN for about 1.5 years, and I know that it's one of the top hospitals in the nation. It's rated I think the 17th best hospital in the United States.
Fabulous
So
care.
it really is a great hospital.
and
So
that was our second opinion.
yeah. So then at that point you pursued the medical marijuana, and you did have some success with it. So that's really great.
Yeah.
But now you mentioned the problem of not having access to dosage at the intervals that are appropriate for your daughter.
Yes.
So
Her primary physician is the one who writes the script and writes the dosing instructions, and her prescription is for 1 ounce of marijuana per month, and she is supposed to receive her dose of medical marijuana oil 4 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is we give her the first dose when she wakes up at 7 a.m. The next dose is needed around noon, but her school is refusing to give it to her. We've filed a administrative due process petition with the New Jersey Office of Administrative Law, actually an emergent relief petition, to have an administrative law judge order the school to give her a dose at lunch. Because if you figure the 4 doses, it would be something like 7 in the morning, noon, evening, and then at bedtime. Genny's seizures frequently, most often, happen upon waking. So we really can't wake her up in the middle of the night to give her a dose. So the school district refusing to have her noontime dose is really affecting her dosing. But unfortunately, the administrative law judge denied our petition and said that basically we haven't showed that the law is settled, and that due to the fact that medical marijuana, or marijuana itself, is still a class 1 narcotic under the federal scheme, he could not order it. So we are now proceeding with the due process petition. We have a judge that's put us basically on a fast track. The attorney for Genny is going to file a brief. The attorney for the schools are going to file a brief on the law and the...
now, before we go that far,
Yeah.
let's look at what the judge said. He said that since marijuana was a Schedule I drug, he could not order the school to give the marijuana to your daughter, even while the case is being settled.
Correct.
Even with what the emergent relief would be, that while you work out the details, let's help the child, let's make sure the child is safe.
The judge did have a recommendation for that.
He did?
He did. He asked the school if they'd be willing to do something to help the child, and his recommendation was to have Laura drive to the school every day at lunch and give her the medicine. And before he got his question out, the lawyer for the school district said that's not an option, it's off the table.
So they would not even allow the mother to drive to the school to give the child
That's
the medicine?
correct. They don't want it on their property. New Jersey has a law that says no marijuana on a school district within 1,000 yards of a school district. And it was initially a law in the 80s under the hardcore drug laws to prevent drug dealing on playgrounds and around playgrounds.
Sure.
But now they're using it to keep Genny's medicine out.
Mm-hmm. Which really disregards and seems to be in conflict with the New Jersey Compassionate Use Medical Marijuana Act.
Absolutely.
Which is a law that passed that allows for the compassionate use of this medicine.
Yes.
I would think in circumstances exactly like the ones you're describing.
And even has a provision in it to hold the nurse harmless. Her New Jersey license is protected.
Yeah.
The school is, but what the judge did rule exactly what you said. If there's a conflict of laws, that even though the New Jersey law says yes, she's licensed, she's appropriate, the federal government still says there's no use for marijuana and it's a class 1 narcotic.
Yeah, Schedule I they consider Schedule I.
They hang their hat on that.
So they're blaming the federal government basically,
Yes, exactly.
for this
And I think
unsettled
I think
law.
it's a fear of losing any federal funding. They get a lot of federal funding under the titles, various titles.
The
and
school
acts.
does, yeah.
Yes.
Now, he talked about the irreparable harm if relief is not granted, and he just seems to deny the fact that your daughter can suffer irreparable harm by not having access to the medicine.
One of the real arguments that the school's lawyer put forth was that the parents have failed to show irreparable harm, and my wife and I just kind of looked at each other, mouths wide open, because my daughter could die with any seizure. And if she doesn't consider that to be irreparable harm, I don't know what is.
In New Jersey, marijuana is still considered a Schedule I drug.
Which is an internal state conflict.
It is.
Yeah.
It absolutely
and
is.
it has to be decided in a court.
Yes.
There's absolutely got to be a decision that says this is the law and we're going to apply it equally to children in New Jersey as we apply it to children in California. And, you know.
But to say that because the case is unsettled, because the issue is unsettled, that the child should not have access to the medicine seems to me to be completely wrong. I mean,
like an avoidance of the issue, scapegoating.
Like you would want to err on the side of caution. You would want to err on the side of continuing to give the child the medicine.
You would think. And you would think that that would be the decision of the judge and let the school district appeal it.
Right.
And if they went on appeal, okay. But
right.
You're right, because that is exactly right on with the issue of harm.
Exactly. So, but apparently this issue is also being debated throughout the country.
Yes.
You talked earlier about a nurse in Colorado that in a school that actually took the patch off a child. You know, and here, you know, it's just a patch, for God's sake.
Laura belongs to a lot of groups online, and she heard about that. It was a state that has recreational use.
Right, now it's recreational, not only
and
medical.
And the school nurse came right up to the child, which I think is an offensive touching, and ripped the patch right off the child.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Unbelievable what happens.
It's amazing to me as just looking at it that there hasn't been a federal suit under the Equal Protection Clause.
And one of the other things the judge said was that my understanding, what he was saying is that because she's doing well now, you know, her seizures are reduced, that she doesn't seem to need this patch in school. That's like saying, you know, because you're taking your anticonvulsant medicine and you're not having seizures, therefore you don't have to take your anticonvulsant medicine because you're not having seizures.
That's exactly what he said, Ken.
You know,
and he based that on, we had 2 exhibits which showed Genny missed 40 to 60% of school last year due to seizures or side effects from her epileptic drugs. And we showed him that this year it was down to 14%. So he said, that's great. She's attending. She's doing well. She doesn't need to have it. It was circular reasoning for sure.
It's a common mistake that we see, we see many times. You know, people are feeling better so they don't have to take their medicine. They don't realize it's the medicine that's making them feel better.
Exactly. You see it with all kinds of disorders, bipolar situations, everything.
So then they tried to work out some type of accommodation for you that was really not appropriate for your daughter. Tell us about the accommodation that they tried to work for you.
Well, they said that I could drive to school and administer it at, well, not actually administer at school. They wanted me to take her out of school, but she has, Genny has, she's on the autism spectrum, and she has transitional problems. So for me to take her from point A to point B, she could get out of my hand and run away where it would be totally unsafe. And the way that the school is situated is that there's a landfill where there's 2-ton dump trucks that barrel down that road.
And very busy highway.
And it's a very busy 2-lane highway in front of the school. And there would be no way that I could control her to take her 1,000 feet off of the school grounds to bring her, to administer her, bring her back, and then she is at a 2-year level mentality that she knows that mom came to pick her up, and then I'm dragging her back to school. That wouldn't go over well. She would just
it would ruin the rest of her day. She wouldn't learn, and it would be a nightmare just to ensure that the marijuana is kept 1,000 feet from the school. Which is another conflict of the law. New Jersey says no marijuana on a school premise within 1,000 feet.
So I guess what we could have done is just kind of snuck it in, you know?
Right, put it in her lunch sandwich or something.
Make sure Genny eats her applesauce, please.
Yeah, some people do resort to that. But you know, you're law-abiding citizens. You want to do the right thing, and you want to make sure she has the right dosage.
We're known as rule followers in our town.
So where does this stand now? Now you did not get the emergent relief. Genny has to go to school without her medicine.
Yes.
What's the next step in this process?
Right now, the next step is we're waiting for the administrative office of the court, the New Jersey Office of Administrative Law to give us a court date and a judge. And we will appear before that judge with the attorneys for the school district, and the judge will give us a briefing schedule. Genny has to submit a brief stating why she's entitled to take the marijuana at school. The school district will submit a response brief stating why she's not allowed to take the marijuana at school. And then Genny gets to submit a final reply brief to rebut the school district. And then basically they'll fast track it. Instead of a 1-year hearing with witnesses and testimony, it'll just be based on briefs. And the loser will essentially appeal it to federal court.
The school, it does not seem to have the safety and health of its students as its primary concern.
Correct.
That to me
seems to be a financial decision.
Right.
Or a liability, whatever,
Right.
not based on the child's best interest.
Right, not based on the
And
child's
it's the best
interest.
medicine that she's had in 16 years.
Right. The only thing that's worked.
The only thing that's
And now we're
worked.
being told no.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. Makes no sense.
Well, I certainly wish you a great deal of success in this
Thank you very
effort,
much.
and I want to thank you so much for coming to CMMNJ TV
Thank
to
you
tell
very
your
much.
We
story.
appreciate you so much for having us on and helping to get Genny's word out.
For more information about the Coalition for Medical Marijuana in New Jersey, join us at our free public meetings on the second Tuesday of every month at the Lawrence Township Library in Mercer County, New Jersey, from 7 to 9 p.m. Snacks are served and all are welcome. Remember, every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for cannabis. Marijuana? I don't want to be racist.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana, Lefty.
Every 42 seconds, someone in this country is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds in New Jersey and across the country, somebody's arrested for cannabis.
Every 42 seconds, somebody is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Cada 42 segundos está uno arrestado por marihuana.
Every 42 seconds, somebody is arrested for...
Every 42 seconds, someone's arrested for cannabis.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone's arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana.
Every 42 seconds, someone is arrested for marijuana. It could be you.